In the dark folds of Santa Barbara, where the ocean whispers secrets into the night, the house at 106 San Clemente Avenue stands silent, like a forgotten relic, shrouded in silence since the tragic death of Paul Walker in 2013. Once his refuge, a peaceful sanctuary where the Hollywood star could escape the relentless glare of fame and lose himself in the salty breeze of the sea, the house was a paradise. But something remained within its walls, something that refused to let go. By 2017, when a young couple, Mark and Emily, stepped through its threshold, drawn in by promises of serene views and coastal beauty, the house seemed to awaken, the calm exterior merely a mask hiding a restless force within. At first, the house welcomed them with deceptive tranquility. Sunlight poured through wide windows, painting warm golden streaks across the wooden floors. The couple unpacked, arranged their new life, unaware of the heaviness in the air that seemed to hum with an unspoken presence. But the illusion of peace quickly unraveled, like a thread tugged loose from a fraying seam. It began with a scent, a strong whiff of burning rubber creeping through the rooms, curling into their nostrils, though the street outside lay empty with no tire marks in sight. Mark dismissed it as just another odd quirk of coastal air, but Emily stared out at the horizon, her pulse quickening as if the house itself were watching her. Then came the lights. The modern wiring, recently installed and meant to dispel lingering shadows, flickered erratically during the night. A chandelier in the dining room flared to life at exactly 2:13 a.m., casting sharp, jagged patterns on the walls before plunging the house into darkness moments later. Bleary-eyed, Mark checked the circuit breaker but found nothing amiss. Still, the air around him felt thick, laced with a chill that didn't belong to a summer night. Emily began to lose sleep, her ears straining, waiting for something, a sound, a movement she dared not name. And then came the noises. From deep within the hallway, a low chuckle, distinctively Paul Walker's, echoed as if he were still there, sharing a private joke with the shadows. It wasn't loud, but it pierced through, raising the hairs on Emily's neck. She gripped Mark's hand tightly, whispering, "Did you hear that?" But Mark, heart pounding, only shook his head, trying to sound calm. Still, both knew, the house no longer belonged to them. Tension escalated in the garage. One evening, Mark walked in and froze. The hood of his Mustang was thrown wide open, the tools nearby rearranged in an odd, deliberate fashion, as if someone had just finished working on it. Emily swore she hadn't touched them. On the edge of the hood, faint fingerprints in the dust appeared, too large to be hers, too real to ignore. He wiped them away, but the feeling of being watched clung to him, like an invisible shadow. The strangest phenomenon happened in the living room. A stack of DVDs on the coffee table was always disturbed. Every morning, no matter where they placed it, the Fast and the Furious disc ended up on top. They tried moving it to another shelf, even locking it away, but by sunrise, it was back again, as if some unseen hand were delivering a chilling reminder. The house, with all its false calm, was whispering a terrifying truth. Paul Walker never left, and they were never alone. The darkness within the house at 106 San Clemente Avenue grew denser by the day, as if the very air were contracting, suffocating any lingering hope of peace. Mark and Emily, caught between fear and fascination, could no longer ignore the increasingly bold signs. The house was no longer a refuge, it had become a labyrinth of hauntings, and every step they took seemed to lead them deeper into a terrifying reality, one marked by the lingering presence of Paul Walker. On the anniversary of Paul's death, the air in the house was as heavy as lead. Mark stayed late at work, leaving Emily alone. Suddenly, the roar of an engine erupted outside the door, sharp and feral like a beast's cry. Trembling, Emily crept to the window, heart pounding, but the street was empty, no car, no headlights. When she turned back, the TV, which had been off, flickered on. Static filled the screen, and for a brief, jarring moment, Paul Walker's face appeared. His deep eyes, a half-smile, looking directly at her. Then, as if someone had severed the signal, the image vanished, leaving only the hiss of white noise. Emily staggered backward, breath caught in her throat, feeling as though someone was standing right behind her. Terrified but entranced by the mystery, the couple contacted paranormal investigators. The team arrived armed with thermal cameras and EVP recording devices, transforming the house into a laboratory of fear. That night, they captured inexplicable sounds, cold whispers and a voice repeatedly muttering "ride or die," like a cursed mantra. When Mark listened to the playback, the blood in his veins froze. The voice, though distorted, carried the unmistakable tone of Paul Walker, as if he were trying to push through the veil between life and death. The incidents grew more chilling. One night, Mark jolted awake to the sound of heavy footsteps in the hallway. He turned, Emily was still fast asleep. Heart racing, he crept out, only to see a tall figure with broad shoulders standing motionless at the top of the stairs. "Who's there?" Mark whispered, voice cracking. The figure didn't respond, it simply vanished, leaving behind the pungent smell of motor oil. The next morning, Emily discovered a message on the bathroom mirror, written into the fog from the steam, "Drive safe." She reached out to touch it, and an icy chill seeped into her bones. The words wouldn't wipe away, as if etched permanently into the glass. Terror escalated when Emily, driving home late one evening, felt something following her. In the rearview mirror, she caught a glimpse of a shadowy figure in the back seat. Panicked, she swerved to the side of the road, but the seat was empty. Then the radio, turned off, suddenly crackled to life, broadcasting static laced with a deep voice, "Go fast but don't rush." The voice was unmistakable, Paul's. The scent of burning rubber filled the car, choking her. When the radio cut off, Emily drove home without daring to look back. But deep down she knew, the house was pulling them into a deadly game, and Paul Walker, or something wearing his face, was behind the wheel. The house at 106 San Clemente Avenue was no longer a home. It had become a living tomb, where time and reality warped, mingling with the breath of a spirit that never truly left. Mark and Emily stood at the edge of madness, torn between terror and a strange pull from the force that now ruled the house. But on that fateful night, everything spiraled beyond control, dragging them into a journey from which no one could return. In the darkness of the garage, the 1995 Toyota Supra shimmered like a deadly mirage, belonging not to this world. Emily stood motionless in the middle of the room, eyes vacant, head tilted as if listening to a voice only she could hear. Mark called her name, his voice breaking, but she didn't respond. The Supra's engine roared to life, headlights flaring and casting a cold, sterile light. The driver's door creaked open, and from the shadows emerged a tall, broad-shouldered figure, not fully formed but disturbingly familiar. "Emily, stop!" Mark shouted, lunging forward to grab her hand. She jerked away as if waking from a trance, but her eyes remained distant, as if bound by some invisible thread. Suddenly the garage door began to close, slow, unstoppable. The Supra's engine howled, and just before darkness swallowed everything, Mark saw the driver's seat shift, not from machinery but from something unseen taking hold. "Let's go for a ride," a deep, warm, unmistakable voice said, Paul Walker's. Mark froze, still clutching Emily's hand, but she began moving toward the car, each step like she was being pulled by an unnatural force. Desperate, he grabbed a toolbox from the workbench and slammed it to the ground, trying to snap her out of it. Emily blinked, whispering weakly, "Mark, what's happening?" But the engine roared again, drowning out all hope. The Supra turned to face them, headlights blazing like the eyes of a monster. The figure stepped out, not fully corporeal, yet wearing Paul Walker's serene, familiar smile. "It's time," it said, the words whispering from beyond the grave. Emily murmured, "It's him, it's really him," and before Mark could react, she slid into the passenger seat. The door slammed shut, and the engine let out one final scream. The Supra tore out of the garage, phasing through the door like a phantom, leaving Mark behind in suffocating darkness, the slam of the garage echoing like the lid of a coffin. From that night on, the house was consumed by deathly silence. Mark and Emily vanished, without a trace. The house changed owners many times, but none stayed long. All spoke of the scent of burning rubber, of engines growling at night, and the feeling of being watched. Rumors spread that Paul Walker's spirit still haunts the coastal roads, driving the ghostly Supra, searching for passengers to join him on an eternal ride. The house at 106 San Clemente Avenue still stands, a scar upon reality, where memory and nightmare merge, and Paul Walker's ride has never truly ended.